The two key legislators that brought the city into fruition was Roger Bruce on the House side and then Senator Donzella James on the Senate side.
The city was created because it was born out of a need, so to speak. But we had a senator that created a bunch of different tax districts. They thought that the north side of the county was subsidizing the south side of the county. So his solution to that was to create all of these tax districts all over the county. And the way the law was written was that all tax dollars collected in those areas had to stay in those areas, which would have prevented money from the north side coming to the south side. Turns out the south side was actually subsidizing the north side, by the way.
Then I realized that we had some problems with Fulton County. Everything went to the north, all of the money, all of the great ideas, all the good economic development, but we had more undeveloped land than anyone. So, something's wrong with this picture. We started building and my husband said, we need to detach from Fulton County proper, unless we get some commissioners who will vote to bring things south too and have equitable distribution of our tax dollars.
We were paying taxes, but we didn't get the representation. There was one commissioner at the time that lived in our footprint.
And the fact that we would have county commissioners on the north side of the county who was voting on things on the south side of the county that might be adverse to what the people in the south side of the county wanted.
What ended up happening is that on the north side, all of those unincorporated tax districts started saying, well, we might as well have our own city. The area in South Fulton was unincorporated. And what ended up happening is that all those existing cities started picking off pieces of it, but they only picked off the pieces that they felt would help them. So it was decided, well, let's take all of the area that's left and create a city of South Fulton.
Well, I would go down to the Capitol and I worked closely with Representative Roger Bruce, Representative Deborah Bazemore, Senator James, making sure that the bill got passed. I remember the first time the bill died, and it was devastating.
Defeated 3 times in the General Assembly. The bill was introduced in 2013 session. And we are a city because of House Bill 514. Some people would say it took us 10 years to become a city. Well, there was another cityhood bill, and it did go to the people, and the people said no.
People that did not want the city, I don't think they had a good understanding of what would happen if we did not become a city.
I can remember, during the cityhood movement, as many people there were that were passionate to create the city, there were just as many people who were adamantly opposed to having the city created.
The first attempt at cityhood I was not for. And I made that very, very clear because as their commissioner, because I didn't think that we were financially ready at that time, and I didn't see the type of leadership that was going to be able to take the city.
We got information and was told by the 2 mayors that are neighbors of ours, that if we were not successful this time in becoming a city, that they would get more of the land that we had. And they were taking the prime areas, not just any piece, not just a neighborhood. They wanted like Coca-Cola in different areas, and then they were gonna come down on National, where we have a lot of businesses down there, and take that area, because you have College Park right there, that was one, and then you had Union City. So, I mean, they were within their right, but I think our constituents, our citizens did not understand, because if that continued to happen, then we would be left with hardly anything, and we would not be able to sustain ourselves as independent people or a city. Down at the Gold Dome, we had Atlanta. That's who fought us from the beginning to the end.
They wanted a lot more than what they have now. And they fought us for a while. In fact, you know, they were the same ones who were fighting for us not to even become a city, because they wanted to annex the city of South Fulton into Atlanta. If we wanted to live in Atlanta, we would have moved in Atlanta. Yeah, so most of us were like, no way. Because not just Fulton County sending things to the north side, but Atlanta was notorious for doing the same thing.
Some of the challenges we faced were people were just afraid. You know, people just, they were comfortable with being part of unincorporated South Fulton. They didn't understand the dynamics of what would happen if those schools in the area were closed, and the city of Atlanta said that if we annex any of that area, we're going to close the schools because we don't need them. Our schools are underpopulated already, and we'll just, you know, bus those kids from South Fulton into existing City of Atlanta schools. And you definitely don't want that to happen.
And one of the things that was looming was the threat of being annexed into the City of Atlanta. And for many parents, they were very concerned that it was going to impact our local schools and cause them to be shut down. So I was involved with the formation of a group called Protecting Our Communities and Schools Against Annexation. And we were very involved with educating the community about the impact annexation was going to have in terms of our schools, our neighborhood schools. And we were at risk potentially of having two elementary and a middle school empty in our neighborhood if we would have been annexed into Atlanta.
Any monies that would have been coming to those schools would have gone someplace else. We would have lost that. We would have lost property taxes also. Students did not want to go to the city of Atlanta. The parents were not interested in going. So we had to work with I worked with the legislators, I worked with the individuals who were really pushing for the city.
As a citizen, as a parent, as a resident, I want to make sure that our schools are supported. And here at the state level, you know, I'm very involved in making sure that the schools have the funding that they need, that the teachers get the pay raises that they need.
And so it was people like Kim Dove and Tony Phillips. They were a part of our group Protecting Our Communities and Schools Against Annexation. And we realized we were going to continue to have that fight unless we incorporated.
However, in the second time, I jumped in hands and feet because I saw a different kind of a strategy. People in the community were meeting, and they were producing white papers. They got themselves in committees of public safety and stuff of that nature, and they came back with something that was reasonable and responsive.
But the last time when we went to the court up there, I never will forget a young man by the name of Rayford Johnson. He called me and he said, Demeter, you got to get up and get down to the Capitol. They're gonna bring the bill back up. And so when they brought the bill back up, it was in the last hour that a young lady by the name of Camilla Moore had went to the Republicans and said this bill needed to be signed. So could you imagine from a bill that's failing, that a bill that just come back alive, and then that's when we call it the Lazarus bill, because it came back from the dead.
It took Republicans and it took Democrats. It took this. We are a city because of bipartisan support.
In the Capitol, when that vote took place, I cried. I was ecstatic. I knew then that we had a chance.
I was exhilarated. I was just overwhelmed with the fact that we made it. We've gotten to step 1 or 2.
And at that time, I believe we were the 3rd largest city in Fulton County. That's doing something. That's amazing. It took a lot of people to get this bill across and to make this city what it is right now today.
But I can tell you, I started with an organization called South Fulton United, and that was the mother group, you could say, that helped to drive the movement to create the city.
We had a number of people We worked closely with Representative Roger Bruce to make sure we divided up the city into 7 districts. And our group was the one that had the feasibility study done. And we sat down with those at the college and told us, you are more than feasible, whether you get Fulton Industrial or not. And when we had those districts broken up, we assigned 2 people to each district that lived there, and we had meetings in those districts to make sure the constituents knew exactly why we were doing what we did and how it would benefit them.
You know, people fear the unknown, and I get that. So we had to educate people, we had to make sure they understood the benefits of cityhood, the benefits of local government, the benefits of controlling your own zoning, and all the other pieces of it. You know, it's just, the biggest challenge was just educating people and getting them to understand all of the things that could happen if we didn't do it, and all of the wonderful things that could happen if we did do it.
First and foremost, we were educating the citizens, because the first question everybody was asking was, do we have the money? So a huge part of education was getting people to understand that we were already paying into what was called a special service district. Our tax money was going into a fund, and the fund that our tax money was going into was supposed to be servicing our area. But when we did the research, we come to find out that the money that we were paying in taxes was going to the northern part of the county, and the people weren't receiving nearly the services that they were literally paying for.
We were not getting the type of services that you would get in a typical municipality. And again, with 108 population per the 2020 census, we are the largest city on the south side. And so we were there, roughly 100,000 people without any local government, with lack of certain basic services, or they're not being, timely or where they need to be. And so that's why we had to create the city of South Fulton.
Because it was an extremely progressive thing for local citizens to come together and understand what it meant to have local control over your tax dollars. That's huge, to be able to make your own decisions about what goes on in your neighborhoods in terms of your safety, your prosperity, your children. If you have a local government that I can drive 5-10 minutes to get to, as opposed to a county government who was servicing, 5-6 million people maybe, that gives you much greater access and much greater opportunity to get things done that you need in your neighborhood or on your street or in your community.
So there were 5 community groups involved. Every community group had their season, and the state legislators worked with all of the community groups, and the sole call was to bring us here to this day, the city of South Fulton.